Hello and welcome to the Queensland Storyteller. I'm Kim Dodsworth. Today I have two stories for you, not just my usual one. Both are quite short to fit the available time. They're both what we could call dark stories. They're about people we'd prefer not to know, but of course enjoy reading about. Story 1, Valentino, is about Anna. Now Anna is a young woman who simply loves to shock her family with her outrageous behaviour. In fact, she's raised behaving badly to almost the status of a fine art form. She enjoys hugely her role as the family pariah, and she considers herself quite unshockable. That is, until her poor mama dies and Valentino comes upon the scene. Story 2, Not George, is about a young man we'd prefer not to meet in the park at night, or at any other time for that matter. Both stories are by Kathleen Fernandes of Sydney, who has previously contributed stories to this program. Story 1, Valentino. Anna yanks the doona around her ears. She rubs her icy feet against one another, then shoves aside the cold water bottle. This morning she has an appointment for a facial and leg waxing. Afternoons are for lazing on the sofa and reading erotic fiction. She wishes that next door's terrier would shut up. I should have poisoned the bloody thing years ago. Anna is not ashamed of her thoughts. She doesn't like dogs. They're too loyal, too loving. She examines the cracks in the wall, cracks like the fragmentary relationship between Anna and her mother. Dreams of a stout woman with small eyes and two hairs sprouting from her chin continue to persecute Anna. Closing her eyes, she could still hear her mother's taunts and threats about being home before midnight. But the taunts and the threats soon diminished as the cancer ferociously spread. On the day of the funeral, Anna wore 3-inch stilettos, a short skirt and red lipstick. She didn't cry. Her father, looking crumpled, muttered to himself during the eulogy. "Anna, take that lipstick off at once." Her moustached aunt had snapped. She'd thrust a tissue at her. "You're a disgrace to your family, coming to your mamma's funeral dressed like a whore." Anna had ignored her and the proffered tissue. Relatives whom she hadn't seen in years huddled like whispering vultures. One spoke in a loud voice. "She's a wicked girl. Sent her poor mamma to an early grave." She sidled up to them, pulled out her compact mirror and applied more lipstick. Anna enjoyed seeing their looks of horror. Relatives. Weddings and funerals were the only time when they'd bother to make an appearance. Not one of them came near the house when her mother was ill. After the funeral, her uncle had the audacity to approach her with, "You're nearly 30. You should be thinking about settling down. I know a nice boy." But Anna didn't want a nice boy. They were too predictable. She preferred the thrill of one-night stands. Soon after her mother's death, Anna persuades her father to enter an aged care hostel. She doesn't intend playing nursemaid. He has his own room and is free to come and go. What he did complain about was the food. It was either undercooked or overcooked. The sauce was too watery and they never used salt. He'd been spoilt by her mother. "Salt's no good for you, Papa, with your heart condition. You know that." Anna grew bored having to repeat the same advice. They would meet once a fortnight. On the last occasion he told Anna bluntly, "I need a woman. I can't live on my own." She was stunned, disgusted even. "A woman at your age, Papa? But Mamma's only been gone 6 months. You're nearly 65. Don't be so ridiculous." She gave an embarrassed laugh, hoping that nobody in the cafe had heard them. "I've been doing some internet dating." "What? I don't believe I'm hearing this. You know too much excitement's no good for your heart. Remember what the doctor said?" That would scare him, the old fool. A woman at his age. The very idea is repulsive. A month after his disclosure, he rings Anna to tell her that he'd met someone. "She's a really nice lady, Anna. I want you to meet her. I've told her all about you." "Oh, have you now? Well, I'm not interested in meeting her. Got that?" She hung up. The woman is after his house. Can't he see that? He's so gullible, such a child in many ways. What did this woman see in him anyway? It couldn't be for his looks. Receding hair and a pot belly. Thinks he's Valentino all of a sudden. When her father dies, The house would be hers. No bitch is going to get her hands on it. An unexpected knock at the door startles her. It wasn't even 8 o'clock. Who could be visiting so early? Anna opens the door. Standing on the step was her father in a smart cream jacket and a navy tie. Next to him is an attractive woman in her 50s, holding a suitcase. "Good morning, Anna." Her father smiles. "I'd like you to meet Isabel. We got married yesterday." Story 2. Not George. The park again. The same park. Christmas Day, the Greek Easter even. Martina doesn't care. She's eager to escape the whispering mice that nibble on food scraps beneath her bed. Eating mouldy sandwiches or singing nursery rhymes to herself in the park, Martina is oblivious to the weather or the stares from onlookers. There's no sign of the bag lady yet. Pleasantries are exchanged, but never names or confidences. Whenever the bag lady leaves, she always tugs on her earring before pushing her loaded trolley down the path. A girl in a frilly dress skips past. She reminds Martina of her daughter Vicky when she was a child. Life was so simple when her husband was alive and the children were small. Martina's son George lives with her. He isn't much company, but lately he'd become sullen, withdrawn. He often goes out and doesn't return until the early hours of the morning. He never tells her where he goes or what he does, and he had recently got into the habit of scribbling hate messages on the walls. His appearance and hygiene is deteriorating too, with hair halfway down his back and not a shower in weeks. If he could find a job and make friends, things would be so much better. George is a good boy, even if he did get angry at times. One afternoon, Martina ventures into his room. The window is shut and smelly clothes are strewn across the floor. Her husband only had to punch George for him to obey. There was a time when her son came home with stains on his shirt cuffs and a scratch on his cheek. Martina had mentioned this episode to Vicky, but her reaction had been, "I don't care about George. He was always weird." "But Vicky, he's your brother," Martina had spluttered. "Brother? You call him a normal person. Don't make me laugh, Mother. I'm ashamed of him and you." For 7 days a week, Martina and her husband had worked in their milk bar, paid for Vicky's private school fees, and a lavish wedding which ended in divorce shortly after. Martina watches as a young man with long hair and scruffy jeans throws a ball for his dog. Her thoughts return to her son. Last week, her neighbour revealed that she had seen George in the city one night. He'd been darting in and out of traffic and abusing drivers. Martina didn't believe her. It can't have been George. It had to have been somebody else. Somebody who looked like him. He wouldn't do anything so stupid. Martina scans the park. The bag lady isn't coming. Maybe she'd found another bench, another soul to chat with. Martina pulls at her black fringed shawl and makes her way home. The house is silent. Is George still out? She looks in his room to make sure. Inside the kitchen, she switches on the radio. An elderly woman was found strangled early today in Brampton Park. She turns up the volume. A man who was last seen in the vicinity of the area is wanted for questioning by police. He is Caucasian, in his 30s, with long dark hair, between 170 centimetres to 180 centimetres tall. A wail escapes Martina's lips as she notices a woman's earring on the table. It looks exactly like the one that the bag lady used to wear. But how did it get there? Did George find it? Had he been in the park? Did he know the bag lady? The front door slams shut. Martina jumps. Footsteps thud along the corridor. She grips the edge of the table, eyes the knife in the drainer, then slowly turns. And those stories were Valentino and Not George, both by Kathleen Fernandes of Sydney. Tune in again this time next week when I'll have another short story of quality for you. I'm Kim Dosworth.